køre ned om måneden. Jeg er 50 år siden de faldt ned. Og en bro er det her til en af dem. Men det var jo en, der slap laven fra at Harry Pros Cognac fra Canada. Ham der kom op på Silla gå. Og det er Campbell fra Skotland. Det har en bro her. Der er en udstilling oppe i forsamlingshus, hvor vi lige skal se et billede af Harry Pros Cognac, den eneste der overlevede hans bevis eller fangelejspapirer nede fra Tyskland, og et billede af, hvordan han ser ud i dag, og et af den gang, da Misse Frederiksen fotograferede ham den nat, de faldt ned. Det her, vi er så heldige, at Kai Jørgensen har været i Winnipeg og besøgt Harry. Og nu skal vi se, hvordan han har et sprog, som er kommet.
Couldn't walk.
Is that right?
That's right, I couldn't walk.
No, it's tough when you can't walk.
I have arthritis, and I have vasculatory problems as well, you know.
Oh well.
I try to work, you know. I like to keep busy. I got lots of work around here. But, well, come on in and sit down.
Oh, yeah.
Jo, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, those two couple are from Denmark. Yeah, they came. They are on vacation. Yeah, I'm supposed to say we live here now. We've been there 37 years, but they're on vacation. They live in that area where they fell down. You know, I think there is a.
Should we know I skal gå ind over først?
Most of this is in Danish, and I'll give you my card. Maybe at some point I can. I got a translate, but maybe we can. We can see what we can do.
I've had several articles translated. I'm
looking for the map. Have you got kort? Var det ikke kort her? Det er mere bag til. Ja. Så hvor er I bor henne?
That's where I was shot down there.
Yeah.
I'll get my glasses on, I'll see maybe a little better. But yeah, that's where. And Fellstrup.
You bor lige her. They live right there. Right there. That's where they live.
Yeah. You people.
Yes.
Yes.
Vi lever her, jo.
And where did Mrs. Fredrickson live? Where was that?
It was in Sillow.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Silver.
That's where Harry was shut down.
Yeah. Very close to there.
And he was watching it.
Yeah.
He was watching it.
Yeah.
He was watching you crawling down.
Is that right?
Yes.
The airplane.
Yes.
But you didn't see me fall.
Nej.
Huh?
Nej, det var jo...
The plane was here, there's a hedge over here,
Oh, and heck.
a hedge, and behind the hedge was a ditch,
Yes.
and I went into that ditch. You see, I didn't craft, trying to get out. I was fighting to open the door, and I couldn't open the door. I could open about that much and no more.
All of this
It's been all written, it must be
always written down in the
drowned
map.
it because I wrote probably everything in there. I know what's in there because they had got all the information from me because nobody else knew the information except
He's the
myself.
only survivor.
I guess so, yeah. This is my card. The reason I have that is that I haven't been involved with the Danish National.
To see the airplane, and I watched them, you know. I could see them, but they never seen me. And I knew where the road was. That's how I knew where the road was. You see, otherwise, if I'd have been alone and didn't see those people, I wouldn't know what direction to go to find the road.
I'll get
You understand what I mean?
from then, and then we get together and see if I can, you know.
I have.
Yes, I know.
Where we went to the,
Canadian Center?
Yeah.
That's why we well, no, I've got a
Yeah, he's asking.
my daughter is on the board of directors there.
So, nice.
I'm getting involved in the national type of thing.
you're Mr.
These are oxygen tanks.
Yeah.
What is that, the bomb site?
Navigator. That's something
That's
that...
the navigator head?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a sextant.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
use that to Yeah, and this, well, that could be anything. Could be anything.
So they have a museum over there.
Ja, sådan et museum, eller et mindested, eller hvad det er. Det sådan.
Ja, det er jo... vi har jo...
Memorial.
Ja, det er det, hvor vi har det gravsted.
Oh yeah, this is the memorial.
Yeah.
The boys are all buried here. You know, I think of those boys often. And we had 3 boys that night that I didn't know. And I didn't know their names, but they perished. But I remember the pilot, the navigator, and the wireless operator.
Yes.
Was it the first trip for them that night?
It could have been their first trip that night. The rear gunner was sick, our regular was sick, so he was replaced, you know, and I didn't know the boy that was...
Den sidste...
Ashurst, Reardon, Edwards is the navigator, Ashurst was the pilot, Campbell was the wireless operator.
Det var sidste Campbell.
Oh yeah, Campbell, I remember Campbell, at least Scotsman.
Ja.
Yeah, I remember Campbell. Downs I don't know, and Lewis I don't know. But Ashurst, the pilot, him and I, we chummed around together a lot. And Edwards, he was on his second tour of operations. He was just a little fella, you know. Those boys were all young.
Det er brødre til Campbell.
Oh, a brother?
Brødre fra Campbell, ja.
Oh, Campbell, oh, a brother
So
to
this is a
Campbell.
brother and a sister.
A brother and a sister. Yeah, okay. I think we called him Jock. I called him Jock.
Ja.
Yeah, he was the wireless operator.
Det var sådan en vinterholdtid, det her om aftenen klokken 8. Det er den 15. februar, sådan.
Og this is from Avnevig.
From Vagen, det var en Rasmussen.
Was this Mr. Rasmussen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And that's obviously some, that from Danish or Dansk or what?
Ja, det er...
There's Mr. Tom, you know Mr. Thomsen? Mr. Thomsen.
Thomsen, nej.
Because him and I court, he's a school teacher.
Yes.
School teacher at,
Yes, yes.
well, that's Mr. Thomsen?
Yes.
Yeah, I spoke to him around the 10th of February. He phoned me from Denmark.
Yes.
And talked to me. I think he would have liked me to have gone,
Oh, yeah.
but with my condition, it was almost impossible, impossible to go. But I remembered,
Yes.
I remembered.
Det var ham, der hjalp ham.
That's the chap that helped you at the time.
På Sillerup. På Frederiksen.
Ja, det er Frederiksen.
Is that
He had a
my
long
chap?
trip.
Der så
You mean he?
He was the one that helped me at Sicily.
Ja.
Well,
Fly, I think,
When I-
for them to run.
after everybody had left the aircraft that night watching it, I knew where the road was. And I went out, I didn't have nothing on my feet, just my socks like that, and so I lost them when the parachute opened up. The jerk, you know, but my shoes kept on
So
going.
you're on the...
And my headgear I lost. But anyway, when I found it, after everybody had left, I went to the road, I seen the road, and I walked down the road a little ways, and there was a house there. So I went to the house to knock at the door, but nobody answered. I didn't knock too loud. I was afraid, you know, frightened. So nobody answered the door. So I went back to the road, started walking. And then there's a big haystack along the side of the road. And I went on the other side of that haystack, I dug a hole in there, and I crawled in there,
Yes.
and I stayed there all night till morning.
So it's a half.
And then in the morning when I must have slept, or I'm sure, I don't know, but I started walking, and I walked into that little town, and there were two boys there at the beginning of the town, this one here, and I think they each had guns,
How do you find them?
and they were standing there, and when I approached them, they took me into Mrs. Frederickson's home and left me there.
That's one of the guys.
That's one of the guys.
And then I guess all this.
Well, he's a Danish boy. He was. I assume they were Danish boys.
Yes.
Well, what were they doing? Were they guarding, or
Yes.
there was two of them there, you know.
De var burger en rensburger.
They worked at a farm.
But they worked at the farm.
Yeah.
But they weren't looking for me. Were they looking? They were looking for me.
Yes.
They found my parachute.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. I left my parachute when I landed.
And now
Oh,
we
boy.
That's what I
And I go to the Legion every year, November 11th, and we hold a memorial lay wreaths and hold a service every year.
Every year, they get told the whole story about another city nearby.
Yeah.
Like you
Oh,
said.
boy.
So
I
much-
have
So there's
a
pictures both from that and from where the stones are, where the shows the boys that fell down there with you.
Yeah, these are, I have these pictures here.
We are doing a
See, that's part of the airplane.
Yes.
I got all kinds of mail here. I don't know. There's a lot. You see, I've been corresponding with Mr. Thomsen and
Rasmussen, I guess.
and Rasmussen, you know, and I guess pictures.
Well, I got a little bit more.
Oh, I got more. Oh, I got some pictures in.
No, that's from you.
No, that's from some time. And oh no, I'll never forget.
Oh. Did you end up in prison or what?
Oh yeah, I was a POW.
Oh.
POW near a place called Sagrin, near Breslau.
Breslau, yeah.
Breslau.
Yeah.
And then I was at another camp up near Bremen. I have that in the other book, yeah. You know the log book.
So that was after you?
Oh, here, this one here, yeah, this picture here. Those are my favorite prints.
Hvor længe har han været det? Hvornår faldt han ned af flyet?
After they captured
så har han
me,
været det længe.
I was locked up in solitary for over.
Because did they capture you in Denmark or?
Oh yeah, Mrs. Fredrickson, well, she had no choice. I don't blame her. She phoned the Germans, you know, and they came and picked me up. But I couldn't do nothing. That's parts of the aircraft.
But he knew that night he
That's
wasn't
Mrs.
coming back.
Fredrickson.
Oh, I see.
And that's Mrs. Thomsen.
Wouldn't
Mr.
that be a
Thomson's
terrible,
wife.
Oh, yeah.
terrible feeling?
You know.
And yet you had to go.
Oh yeah, that's. And I left Mrs. Fredrickson, I had an escape kit with different monies, you know, from
Oh.
France,
Would it be easy?
Germany. Well, that must be, no,
Right.
that's not him. I wrote to a fellow in England too. I think Mr. Thomsen is here, one of those men.
Do you know Mr.
Yeah. Because what we dug at the prisoner of war camp, they had the movie, The Great Escape. Did you
Oh,
ever
were
see
you
it?
there?
Yes, I took part in that. This is a layout of the camp that I was in Germany. When I was a prisoner of war, I even forget what I think I was living in this one.
Start like 105.
Stalag 105,
I don't-
Stalag 3,
They used the word
3.
Stalag with
Yeah, Stalag, this was called Stalag, the hospital, the cooler. That cooler, that was the jail for us fellas when we were guys. Told you. That's this layout of our camp. And this is the tunnel we dug. We took, what, 2-3 years digging that tunnel.
Yes.
Yeah. digging that tunnel from my camp, from one of the houses that we slept in, you know. We went down and out, and this is out to the road. Road was here, and the Germans offices were here, but when we opened it up, it was too short. And these are the boys that night when after the escape, they were supposed to get out about 250 boys were supposed to get out, but they only got out about 50, 60 boys.
Yeah.
And all these boys here that were caught were shot.
It was in a TV there not too long ago.
Yeah,
I saw some of that. Yeah.
That's and I knew a lot of these boys here. In fact, some of the boys that were in my room, there was 10 of us in one room. He was supposed to go out that night. And this is the memorial that they built. The Germans let them build that memorial. That's supposed to be me. One of the,
He sure was handsome.
This is Harry's pit, is it? What is that? That's one of the bunkers.
Waiting for hot water
At the cook, waiting for hot. Some of the boys that were there were very talented, you know.
Yeah.
These are not my drawings, but I had different boys do. That's when the invasion hit. Post-war Krieg. He says he can't sleep unless they're like that, one bed on top of each other. This is walking the circuit around.
Yeah.
Then I have a big right up here. Oh, that's a girlfriend I had in England. That's a Christmas card I got from our Prime Minister, William Lyon Mackenzie. I belong to the Caterpillar Club in England, saving my life with a parachute.
Oh.
Saving my life with a parachute. And then parcels I got from home. Parcels and the letters I received. Well, I thought I had a... Oh yeah, that's the march. When the Russians were coming, the Germans moved us from Saga all the way up to Bremen, and we walked half the ways, if you know how far that is. About halfway, we stopped at a place called Moscow, not Russia, in Germany. There's a place called Moscow in Germany, you know. It's a small village, you know. We stayed in the barns or theaters or wherever, and they shipped us in cattle cars from there up to Bremen. And that's a sort of a diary I kept, you know, of the trip. Just coming next week to cut my grass, you know, and I'm sort of two boys. Yeah. Here in Canada, you know, when they fly they went to Denmark, and he traveled flying boots, and those flying boots had a sloppy fit. They weren't snug by no means. They were sheepskin lined on the sides, the sole and everything, soft inside, you know, and it didn't feel right, you know. So I pulled it off, looked in, put my hand in there, and could you never guess what I found in that boot?
Mice or something like that?
No, a razor blade.
Ooh.
A razor blade in my flying boot.
Oh.
I don't know how a razor blade ever got into that room, or into my locker, or into my boot, but I felt it. If you step on the razor blade, 9 chances out of 10 you won't feel it, you know. But I felt it. And for me, that's bad luck. That spells bad luck.
That sounds weird.
So we get...
Det forstår jeg ikke.
So after briefing and we're all ready, they take us out to our aircraft. We get into the aircraft, and one engine doesn't work right. He can't get the boost on this one. We had 4 engines on these Lancasters. We were okay, but this one engine wasn't right. Couldn't get the boost. So they took us out of that aircraft to another aircraft. Now this other aircraft was sitting there all the time I was there, and nobody ever flew it. Anyway, we get into this aircraft, and the engines worked okay, so we took off with this aircraft. But when we left the coast of England to head overseas, it's quite common to fly and see 2, 3, or 4 other aircraft, you know, going. We used to go 1,000 strong on one raid. As many as 1,000 aircraft would go at different times, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So it was quite common to fly all the way over the English Channel and see maybe 1 or 2 aircraft alongside of you.
Like a busy highway.
Yeah, just like a busy highway. But this night, I could see a couple aircraft on my starboard, nothing on the port, and we were going this way, and they were going this way. So the further you went, the further apart you got.
Yeah.
You know? So I told the skipper, the pilot, and I told the navigator, I said, we're not going right. We're going too far north. We're heading too far north. And the skipper's, the navigator said everything is okay. I guess his calculations were okay. And the pilot had the compass there, and I guess everything was okay. So anyway, at I guess approximately 8 o'clock that night, PFF, the Pathfinder Force, they used to drop route markers on our route to give us an indication that we were more or less flying the right course. You know, they were much faster aircraft than the Lancaster. Lancaster cruising speed was only 150 miles. Airspeed was only 150 miles an hour. So if you had a 50-mile-an-hour wind and you're flying into it, it means your ground speed is only 100 miles an hour. So anyway, it's time to see these flares. Normally they should be in front of you. If you're on course, they're going to be in front of you. But I wasn't looking in front of me for these flares. I was looking on the starboard of the aircraft, and I spotted them. And those flares were a long, long ways. We were way too far. We were heading for Norway and Sweden instead of Heligoland. You know where Heligoland is? Yeah. You know, right in the crotch there, that island there. Yeah. And we were heading for Norway. So I told the pilot about the flares, and the navigator told the pilot to alter course and fly to the flares. So we were flying right down Denmark, southern Denmark, to these flares, you know, but we never made it to the flares. The German fighters, the Messerschmitts, ME-9s, I guess they were, if I remember correctly, they attacked us and they hit us, and they fired incendiary bullets, and our plane caught on fire. So we never got to the flares. We were in trouble. Okay, even if that hadn't happened, if we weren't hit, you know, suppose that we had got to the flares and an altered course, because we were on our way to Berlin that night.
Oh, you were.
If an altered course to Berlin, and we got to Berlin, got rid of our bombs, now we turn around, come back home to England, we never made it. We were out of gas, out of petrol, as they call it.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have had gas.
That's right.
Because they only allowed us approximately 50 gallons extra. And we used to take on one load 2,000 gallons. Berlin was 2,000 gallons or 1,950 gallons of petrol.
That's right.
Well, going that extra mileage, you know, from coming down Denmark, we burned a lot of gas there for and then going home. So there was only one wrong with that aircraft. The navigator was an experienced man. The pilot was a good pilot. The compass was U.S. wasn't right.
I see.
That compass wasn't right.
And that's why you were.
That's why we were off course.